Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Today we'll be asking, how good are Manchester United's current academy players? Now, every football club has something the majority of fans drone on about. Arsenal fans, for example, don't shut up about Wenger. Liverpool fans don't shut up with their "next year will be our year" comments. And as a proud Manchester United fan, I accept that we don't shut up about the youth. We love it. Are we playing the youth enough? How good are the current youth? Aren't the Busby babes in the class of '92 brilliant? Yet you do get some United fans who, perhaps rightly, listen to us spouting the same rhetoric and think we're not playing the youth because they're just not good enough. And that argument does have its place, but to assume we're not playing them just because they're not good enough is flawed, and we'll come back to that later. Now, spending 100 million on every man and his dog feels like it will soon become commonplace for us, and it is worthwhile because we will bring in quality. But the reality is, it assures us of nothing. Falcao was expensive, and he was more disappointing than the Phantom Menace. Di Maria was expensive, and that didn't work out. And yeah, people call him a snake. I think that's unfair. I think he was more of a weasel. Then Pogba is the world's most expensive player, and whilst he will get better, I think for the money, most United fans would have hoped for more from him this season. That's not to say it won't come though. So, money isn't always the answer, and at times it can lead to Manchester United having players that care more about themselves and their brand than the club. Don't get me wrong, some players just get it. Van Persie came in and was incredible for us. He wanted to be with us and be part of the team. But then for every Van Persie, there's a Zlatan who makes coy comments about his future and is probably only with us to prove something to himself, rather than it being about the club. Don't get me wrong, we'd have been languishing in the bottom half of the table without him. But it's still a little annoying that he comes in, calls himself a god, and then might bugger off after 1 year. We'll wait and see. So what's my point? Well, players that come through the youth not only get what the club is about, but when you get great players, they'll pretty much stay with you for their whole career. Look at Duncan Edwards, Sir Bobby Charlton, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes and Gary Neville. There was never a remote chance that they would have left for another club, and poor David Beckham cried when he was forced out. So, when we talk about the youth, it isn't just some romantic ideal. There is a massive benefit to having first team players that came through the youth. The issue is, if they don't get a chance, we'll never know. When we get to this summer, I would have been much happier if we'd played more academy players in the League Cup than win it with first team players. It was nice and all, but in the larger context of how our season's gone, does anyone really care that much? If anything, it's been like putting a plaster over a bullet wound. And the worst part is, we're none the wiser with so many of our youth players. It's simple. Jose's reluctance to play the academy players is as obvious as David Bowie's packet in the labyrinth. If you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. So the big question is, how is the academy team coming along? Let's work through them. First up is Dimitri Mitchell. This lad is a striker from Manchester and he looks like a real talent. One of his goals earned a place on the Man U TV Goal of the Month shortlist a few years back, and he was part of the squad that won the Under-17 Championship in 2014. He's been called a game changer and has explosive pace, one to look out for. Next is Matty Willock, who's a midfielder from Waltham Forest. Many of you were out buying bottles of champagne celebrating recently just because he was on the bench for the West Brom game. He played more than any other player in the Under-18 squad last year, with 29 appearances, and he's been praised for his energy and distribution. Next up is Devonte Redmond, who is an opposing 6-foot midfielder from Manchester. He started settling into the centre of midfield, and whilst his development has been slower than some, he showed his ability in a 5-1 thrashing of Middlesbrough in 2014, scoring twice and assisting 2 others. Whether or not he'll progress to the first team is yet to be seen. Moving right along, we've got Josh Harrop, a midfielder from Stockport. His family support United, so he is eager to make a name for himself. Last season he was plagued with injury, which might have hampered his progress, but he's still a talented playmaker with a competitive edge. He's said to have a great eye for goal and major confidence in his own ability. This next player, Tosin Kehinde, is a midfielder from Nigeria. There isn't a great deal of information on this lad, but he was a sub in the Under-21 game, and at just 16, he scored in the UEFA Youth League during a win against Wolfsburg, so he's clearly able to play at the next level. The player who will be best known to most fans will be Axel Tuanzebe. He's a great defender from the Congo, and Mourinho said last summer that the potential is there and you can see it immediately. He is extremely fast, and as an under-18 captain, he's clearly got leadership potential. Most fans confess to being disappointed not to have seen more of him this year. Next on the showcase is Callum Gribbin, who's a midfielder from Salford. He is touted by many as being the most exciting youth prospect at the club. He looks like a tricky player with dribbling and close control in his arsenal. He can dictate games, and you only have to watch his goal against Barcelona to see what he's capable of. Go on, YouTube it. Pause this, open another tab, check it out, and come back. It's great, isn't it? Rowe Sean Phillips is the penultimate player on this list. He is a Manchester-born defender with killer pace. So much so, he broke Olympic gold medalist Darren Campbell's 100-metre school record at Ashton upon Mersey. He looks like he's very physical and could have a future in the first team if his progress continues. And finally, Angel Gomes, a striker from Portugal. He's got fantastic long-range passing, a clear understanding of the game, and he's consistently played with higher-age teams, which shows his maturity and physicality. He joined us at just 13 and he is now 17. He should be one to look out for. Now, we at the United Stand are behind Jose and we back him, but this is still the man who sold Lukaku and De Bruyne. We just don't want things like that again. So, am I saying I want next season to look like 1996 when Fergie's fledglings came through? No, not really. What I am saying is this: when it comes to the League Cup, early FA Cup games and maybe some easy league games, we try out some of these players and start to redevelop a thriving youth setup. We've seen Tottenham and Southampton somewhat take the mantle with youth players, and it's about time that changed. So what do you think of this list of players? Are there any we've missed? If so, please get involved and comment below. As ever, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.